videos. This one's for sixth grade model one-step equations and solve. If you watched my last video, it was on a similar topic, except for it was just modeling. It wasn't real world problems. It was just modeling equations and solving them. So on this one, it's just taking more of a real world approach, and other than that, everything's the same. So let's just take a look at this. Jayda takes her dog Rolo to obedience training once each week. Jayda bought a box of 119 dog treats and split them evenly into B bags. Each bag contains 17 treats. So let's look at some of the key things here. On con, remember you can highlight things. There's a writing tool, so you can go and highlight. So one thing you want to do on some of these is go and find the key things. So the key is B here is the variable we're going to use. That represents the number of bags. There are 119 total dog treats. We know that, isn't there? And each bag contains 17 treats. So what we don't know is the number of bags. So that's what we're trying to find. But we need to write an equation to do that. So let's go ahead and come up with an equation to do that. So let's see what they did. They took, there's a couple ways you can do this. We're actually going to look at this. So we can look at either taking, we know if we took the number of treats and times it by the number of bags, that would get us the total number of dog treats. So one equation we could put in here is 17 times B. Make sure you use the same variable they give you. If it's lowercase, keep it lowercase. And that equals 119. So that's one equation. The other one that would work, and only put one of these in there, the other one that would work is we could also take 119. The reason I wouldn't use this one as much because we haven't talked about how to solve one like this. 119 and divide it by the number of bags, and we know that would equal 17 because we know the number of dog treats divided by the however many bags we have gives us 17 treats in each bag. So I want you to think about this. If I times the treats by the number of bags, that would give me the total number of dog treats. Then this is the type of equation we've been solving. And this one, no, remember if it was multiplication, we know we need to divide. So we know we need to take 117, and so B would equal 119 divided by 17. And that ends up being, if you need to, take some time to work this out, but that ends up being 7. One key thing is, if it ends with a 9, 7, what do we multiply 7 by to get to 9 would be 7. We know 7 times 7 ends with 49. So if you're struggling with trying to figure those out, think of those. What does it end with? But in this case, B is 7. So that's what we would put down here. Now, on this, when you put the solution in here, don't put anything else but just the number of treats. So we would just, the number of bags. So we would just put 7 down here. Don't put B equals 7. Don't put anything else. Just put 7 down here. And then submit it. Okay? Again, we write our equation in the top part. It wants an equation, and then it wants an answer to that equation, the number of bags. And in the answer, they only want this. Make sure you have an equation here in the top one, which means it has to have an equals in it. We've talked about that, how equations have to have equals in it. Let's go ahead and look at another one here. Okay, so on this one, Ling bought a basket of apples to make pies for her friends. The basket of apples weighed P pounds, so that's how many, that's what the P is the variable they're going to use, okay? Before she had time to make pies, she ate 2 pounds of apples, and there were 14 pounds of apples left. So 14 pounds left. So if we think about this, P is what we started with. And then if they ate 2, that's taking it away. So if we have P, we're going to take away 2, and that's going to be a lowercase p because that's what my variable was up here. P minus 2, that's what we took away. And then what they had left, so that equals 14. So there's my equation. Now we talk about solving this. When we solve these type of equations, remember if it's subtraction, we know we have to add to solve it. So we would end up with P equals 14 plus 2, because remember we needed a number that was 2 more than 14 in order to find the solution. Now the interesting thing with this is, guys, is we could actually also put this in for our equation. The computer will also take this for our equation. It would take either one of these for our equation. Then we end up, if we did that work on this, we would end up with 16. So our answer that we need to put in is 16. Okay, so again, we have our equation with an equals in it, and then we just put a number down here for our solution. Make sure you do that in there. Don't put anything else. Don't put units or anything else in here with this, the bottom answer. And up here, we don't put units, anything. We just put our variable numbers. Make sure we do have an equals, so it's an equation. Let's look at another one here. Okay. So this one, Jolie earned $195 for babysitting in 1 month. She spent D dollars, so that's the number of dollars she spent at the water park with friends. After going to the water park, Julie had remaining. So that's what she had remaining. She started with this, didn't she? So she started with 195. And remember, when we spend money, we take that away. So she spent those D dollars. And then what she had left was 148. Now, this would be an okay equation, but the interesting thing is we have not talked about how to solve one of these equations. So I'm actually going to back this up a little bit, and we haven't talked about solving this. You could put this in there, but we haven't talked about how to solve an equation like this if we do it. But let's think about what we have talked about. If we talk about this, if it's subtraction, we would solve this by adding. So let's just add this D to the other side. So we would end up with 195 equals 148 plus D. And let's think about this. Does her total equal what she had left plus what she spent? And that is a true statement. And then that is an equation we could also put in there. So that's another one we could put in there. With these adding ones, a lot of times there's more than one we could put in there. So this one would work, this one would work, and then also now we could solve this by, since it's adding, we use subtraction to solve it. So the dollars she has is equal to 195 minus the 148, which would end up giving us that answer of, so that would be 140, or one. Just got distracted here for a minute. Sorry. 195 147, okay? Okay? And so that's what we would end up putting in there, is that 147, okay? All right. So let's go ahead and go through this one more time. Let's look at one more example here, okay? Uh, Carl is on the track team and preparing for an upcoming race. He plans to run 155 miles over the next 31 days. We want to write an equation where m, so there's the variable we want to use, where m, so m represents miles, so that's the miles he needs to run per day. We know he's going to be running for 31 days, and we know he's going to run a total of 55 miles. So our equation we would have is the number of days times how many miles he runs each day, which would be m. That equals the total miles he's going to get, which is 155. So if we have that, then our equation we could use to solve it, then, so m we know then, remember if it's multiplication, we use division to solve it, so m would be 155 divided by 31. And that ends up being 5, okay? So that's what you'd end up putting in here, okay? So that's the way you do these. Take a look at these, work your way through these. Remember, if you miss one or if you get struggling, click on those hints and take your time and work through these. These are going to be a little challenging, but these are important. These are the most important thing on this section, and these are what we've been building up to. So make sure you take the time and figure out how to do these. Good luck. And if you need help, let me know. Thanks, and have a good day.